wow, this is a powerful beast.
You look like a rock star, by the way.
Oh, mobile phone's terrible. But like I'm giving a history lesson. What's a gigabyte?
Wow.
I want a toy dragon, not a real one.
That's so romantic.
I love my duck. My duck's really cool.
How does it feel really to be like the first one to experience the things which just appeared?
We said, look, if we do it the way we do it.
Hello everyone, this is again Who is in Dubai, and I have today an amazing guest. But before I will introduce the guest, I would like to tell that I'm a very happy and lucky person because when I landed in Dubai, I discovered for myself the film industry almost in full. And this is actually how we met. The editor, producer, actor, Keith Dallison. Hello.
Hello.
So, how you've been doing?
Okay. Not too bad. Everything's going really well, actually. Well, I mean, it's the summer, so things are going to be quieter, but it gives us opportunities to dive into other areas.
You look, by the way, really amazing. I love your beard.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm attached to it myself.
Do you have someone to work on your style, or is it like...
I do, actually.
Okay.
Yes. I have somebody who tells me what to put on in the morning and who I'm meeting and what I'm doing.
Was it the case? Was it the case today as well?
Pretty much, yes. Yes.
So, but you cannot complain, right?
No, I can't. I'm coming to see you, Kseniya. I mean...
Thank you so much. So before we will dive deep into all the stories, I would like you to introduce yourself a little bit, to tell a little bit about yourself, because as far as I know, you were born in England, right? I love your British accent. And it actually took me a while to start really understanding you because, you know, it's complicated to understand a British accent. I'm sorry. And then you landed here in UAE, and your whole life, you had a very great journey. So share that with us, please.
Well, where do I start? It's certainly it's a long journey. You started off with accents, saying the British accent. Well, I come from an area of the UK, which is central, called Birmingham. The same place where certain rock stars like Ozzy Osbourne, Duran Duran...
You look like a rock star, by the way.
Well, thank you very much. But these guys come from there, and their accents... Birmingham is known as the most ugliest accent in the British Isles.
Correct.
But I've had to work at getting rid of it, try and get a more neutral sort of English accent, because coming here to Dubai, I discovered...
No one can understand you.
Exactly.
How does it feel?
And there's so many people. Everybody's speaking English. The English is like the common language, but yet nobody could understand an Englishman in Dubai. So, yes.
And this is where the acting career helped you.
Well, it did. It did. I started out in that field of acting, theatre, when I was young. I was doing something at school. This followed with getting involved with music. I was bought a guitar at the age of 11 for Christmas. I'll never forget that. It may have been even sooner. And that sort of just one step after the next. Even at the age of 14, I was already playing with guys trying to get a band. I wanted to be a rock star. Mm-hmm. That was my dream in life. And so school, academy, and all that sort of fell by the wayside a little bit. I did go to art school, and that's where the creative side of photography, video was not on the horizon at that time, but certainly artistic and graphics and video was to follow as a result of art school. And I got into working more and more in the entertainment. Of course, playing in a band, there would have been audio-visual, lighting and sound, and so we were doing
Like
it for...
proper entertainment.
We were doing it for other bands, exactly, entertainment. We were doing, other people that were on the music circuit within, the Midland area. So I had a very sort of lucky teenage years in that respect. I had parents who probably were very, how can I say, let me think of the right word, but they despaired, if you like, at sort of, their wayward son going out there with long hair and, sleeping in the back of a van touring around
That's
the UK.
so romantic.
When it's not, it can be quite cold in the middle of winter, and one of the windows in the van was broken, I remember, and the snow woke up in the morning and covered in snow, and all the equipment covered in snow. But it was a great time. It was a great time, and I think, looking back, it's sort of what molds you. It taught me a lot, how to be independent and how to have confidence, and even when things are not good, like you're struggling, where's the next meal coming from? Something always comes around the corner. So it gives you a degree of optimism towards life.
You always are so positive, and I wouldn't even say that you experienced any hardships or something like that. So you grew in England. You started your career in England, and what were your first achievements, like big achievements in England?
I don't think it was a career path that was chosen. I think all the things that I have done have been very, and you'll probably have to look up this word, but very serendipitous, which is a word which means it just happens. It's just something that happens by fate.
So you've been going with the flow all the
just going with the flow and trusting in your own ability of that whatever you choose is the right path. Of course, once you step into something, you have to explore it to the fullest and see how far it can go. There were times way back then, as we were talking, that I wish, mobile phones today can be a bane, and because people have always got their faces stuck in them, and, you go like, oh, mobile phones, terrible. But I sometimes wish we had them back then, because things would happen that you wish you could just grab a picture of at the moment. And, of course, these moments are only here in your mind.
Yeah, I sometimes wonder, your generation back then, you never had devices that we have. You never had that, I think, that open world as right now. But I still find it very romantic, because probably there has been more soul in everything people have been doing. What do you think?
I agree. I think people had to, to get your name out there, to put your heart, it was more about what you were doing, your art. It wasn't about exposing yourself to the world with what you do. Some people use it in a good way, social media and all that today. But back then you had to, just rely on sort of, that you were connecting with people in a positive way. In what you did, in your art, or, whether you were an actor, whether you were a musician, whether you actually doing physical art, or whatever you were doing in the performing arts, you had to rely on sort of, word of mouth, if you like, people coming to see you and getting it out there. We would be out at midnight with a bucket of paste and sort of slapping posters on the walls and sort of looking out for the police and seeing, like, they're going to catch us putting posters up where it wasn't allowed. It was against the law, like, so you had to quickly put the poster up and then run, jump in the van and go to the next
I have a feeling
billboards.
I'm
and
like
stuff,
watching an old movie together with you.
It was when some of the things, and you'd actually some nights I can remember there would be the rival bands in the town, and you'd come to a billboard where all the posters were, and you could see that the paste was still wet.
Okay.
From the band that is your rival, so you would just paste over the top of their poster and put your poster over the top of theirs.
We will not be able to experience this, unfortunately.
It was good fun. It was good fun.
So, how you landed in Dubai? How did you come to the idea to move to the Middle East?
Well, that's a good question. So how did I come to be in the Middle East? How did I come to Dubai? Well, after working in... when I started working in nightclubs, I was doing lighting, and at that time there was an introduction to video walls. Video walls at the beginning of the 80s.
We're talking about like LED screens, right?
No, we're talking about video walls were like the old TV tubes, TVs. They put loads of these TVs together and made a video wall. Computers were just coming onto the scene. They were, a 32K computer was like, wow, this is a powerful beast, And they would have programs that could sort of like, make all the pictures go over all the screens and everything. So this was all sort of new. So I got involved with that technology even back then. And it was becoming, there was a song in the charts that was by by a band called the Buggles. It was called Video Killed the Radio Star. You can look it up on Google, Video Killed the Radio Star. The guys in this band went on to produce and become some of the biggest producers in music that sort of people will know across these sort of 80s. But it was from getting involved with video at that stage that got me into editing. And editing, one thing or not, led me to sort of exploring sort of the BBC. I'd already got friends in the acting fraternity there. I was already doing part-time sort of extra work in certain TV shows and so on. And I explored the latest technology in actual video editing. Video editing now becoming what they call non-linear as more computers were being involved. And I was on a new editing software was introduced right at the beginning of the 90s called Avid.
Beginning of the 90s. Wow, I just was born.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so this was like the beginning. Yeah, right. Wow. Yeah. I feel like I'm giving a history lesson.
Exactly. How does it feel?
Really?
How does it feel really to be like the first one to experience the things which just appeared?
Well, I don't know. I feel perhaps I should be sitting in a museum next to where they've got the pieces going, like, sitting there like some sort of dinosaur or something. I can remember when I first came across the edit suite there was a BBC television series called Casualty. It's based in a hospital, and the studios where they filmed, they actually did the editing, but it was a big warehouse, and they had the editing suites in these porter cabins that were inside the warehouse. Inside the edit suite, the guy is sitting there editing, and I'm looking, and I know a little bit about editing, and I'm looking, well, what's this, what's that, and I'm asking questions, and I'm saying, like, well, what's this box here? He said, well, this is where we store it. This is the storage. And I was going, oh, wow. And I said, like, so how much storage you got there? And he said, it's 9 gigabytes.
Wow.
And it was the size of a shoebox. And I was like, 9 gigabytes? What's a gigabyte? Right, because at that time, everything was still kilobytes and megabytes, you know. So gigabytes is like, oh, wow. I said, no. And it was the size of a shoebox, 9 gigabytes. And you think of what we've got now, and you can get
512.
Exactly. And you can get storage just to hold in your hand, which is now 4 terabytes and so on, and you know. So that was where it all started, and that is how I came to Dubai.
How old you were back then?
How old was I then back then? Well, I've already told you how old I am now. Don't they teach you maths in
So you're now, may I reveal your age?
Yeah, I think we said, didn't we say I was 63?
Yeah, we did.
We did.
So it's around 20 years you've been there. No?
So I was about 30. I was round about in my late 20s, early 30s at this point. In 91, 92, I was 31, 32 going.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was as a result of learning Avid and doing these that I discovered there was work in London. They were looking for people who had trained. I trained with the BBC to do non-linear editing, and acting and the musical side started to fall more and more to the side.
Mm-hmm.
I found a customer in London who repeatedly booked me to come and do editing with them, and they were called MBC.
Mm-hmm.
They were in Battersea, and after 5 years of working with them, eventually I became full-time. They decided they were going to move closer to their audience here in Dubai. They wasn't going to move back to Saudi. It's a Saudi company. So they decided to move to Dubai. They had a great offer of being one of the first to occupy Media City in the buildings there that are around where the lake is. I think most people here know where MBC is.
Yeah.
And at first I wasn't that keen to move. I had a lot of contacts in London, but let's just say they made me an offer I couldn't refuse, and I said, okay, I'll come for a short period of time, and that's how I ended up in Dubai back in 2002.
2002. Yeah, it was different.
It was a lot different. It was a lot different. It was all fresh. It was all new, and it was the boom as well. So for the first 6 years till 2008, 2009, it was booming. It was everything. NBC moved here as a single channel and then expanded into the multi-channel free-to-air TV that it is now.
And so you've been working as an editor, head of the editing department here. And how did you move back to the acting career?
NBC expanded. It grew and it grew. And I'm a person who likes to be creative. I'm an artist. I like to consider myself that way. Other people judge whether it's good or bad. But I was moving further away from that into management. I was going to more and more meetings. It was more Excel sheets and Microsoft Word and communicating with people and organising things. And although I was told that I was good at it, it wasn't something that I felt my heart was in. And so there was many occasions I spoke with my boss and said, this isn't working for me. I need to
Something
get
you
back
don't really
more
like.
creative. He tried to help me with that. And in the end, we decided I was going to step out and re-explore who I really was, because I think I'd lost myself.
So it's never too late to find yourself.
Oh, no. It's never, it's not a case of reinventing yourself. You're just finding new parts of yourself that maybe you had in the past, or you're just expanding or extending on, Never too late. I found myself going down a path that was perhaps not for me. I mean, it was just sort of, the managerial sort of role.
Boring.
Yes. Oh, my God.
Nervous.
Going to a meeting about the meeting that you had last week, knowing that next week you're going to go to another meeting about the meeting that you're currently sitting in. It was like you find yourself on a hamster wheel. There's no constant change. I like where there's constant change. Something's growing. Something's
developing,
evolving. And that is what I think all artists, when their performance or whatever the world they're in, that's what they crave for. It's not for us to judge how good we are or whatever, but I think a true artist is just involved in what he does.
It's just the artist's nature. So you cannot close the bird in a cage, right?
Well, exactly. This is how I feel. This is how I felt. And so I felt I'd gone too far. Where is the cutoff point? I'd had this conversation several times, so it was time to cut it. And it's like ripping that Band-Aid off. When you don't peel it off slowly, you got to rip it off. Well, I felt I'd been peeling it off a bit slowly, so yes.
It's a big part of your life.
It is. And so I took the plunge, and
then you started acting.
Well, I didn't start acting. I'd already.
I mean, you continued.
It grew. It was an extension of what I'd already done, and I'd already done acting before. So it was a case of, can I explore that field again? It was. I found that I was in a situation where I could potentially explore, several avenues that maybe I'd put to bed in the past. Rediscover my musician talents inside me. Playing bass, I play bass.
Wow.
So I dug that out. I found a bunch of other guys that were over 50 years old, and we got a band
already
together.
Here.
They were already here. We got a band together.
What was the name?
Right, the name of the band was Splinter Group.
Okay.
We played a few gigs around, not too many. We all had, except for me, we all had pretty much full-time jobs. So trying to find time when everybody was off to be able to rehearse and everything else. But, we did a few gigs, as they say, and it was just absolutely wonderful because it brought back so many memories of the past. And so
bumps and I'm almost crying.
Yeah, no, it was absolutely wonderful. And the thing is, it was received really well. But the constraints.
Wasn't it clubs?
Yeah, I mean, we even did a festival, here that was outdoors in a spring festival, and that was fun. It was reliving the past a little bit, but it awakened things inside me that, explore the
and you felt
acting.
alive, yeah?
Yeah, I felt alive again. I was probably, because of the lack of work, real work, that was actually generating money, I was probably a lot poorer financially, but richer in myself.
Mm-hmm. That's much more important.
Well, I think it is. Like me, it was my mind was coming back, and I was becoming myself again. So, acting was something I was exploring as well. It's something that because I've been on the other side of the camera as an editor, I understand how the mechanics work on a set.
And obviously
You
it
know,
did
so,
help you.
Yeah, of course. It makes it easier when you're communicating with people on set, like the director and various people like that, because you can, you know where you should be, position, look. You can preempt what the director's going to say and so on, and how he's going to be.
You made the crew very happy, I bet.
Yes. Well, I try to.
Yeah.
I try to. And certainly, with in the acting, it's interesting. You hear as well the opportunities that presented themselves as for the parts in which I found myself playing. Everything from being a terrorist, an Afghan terrorist. I think it's the beard. An Afghan terrorist to playing a religious sort of Arabic guy to, Mediterranean
Mafia?
mafia, yeah, Indian mafia, and so on. It's so it's a little bit more diverse, and that is the one thing I love about Dubai more than anything else is its diversity, and that is the one sole thing that's kept me here, I think.
And this diversity brought you from an Afghan terrorist to a Santa Claus.
We're going to talk about him.
Yes, this is what I really would love to hear from you, how you came to an idea to become a Santa Claus. Yes, of course, you have a long beard and your voice sounds sometimes so mysterious and like in a fairy tale. Is it something, I even don't know how to ask. Is it like, what do you feel being a Santa Claus? Is it like kind of a miracle for you as well? Or you're doing it just because of just acting?
That's a good question. First of all, it wasn't me that decided to be Santa Claus. And it wasn't my manager or boss as well. It was somebody else said, I need a Santa Claus. I said, well, why are you asking me?
And it was?
Do it. This would have been only 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
5 years ago. So it would have been the Christmas or festive season of 2019. Yes, 2019. And I flatly refused. I said, no, it's not for me. It's not something I want to do. They persisted. And my manager sort of said, well, maybe it's something we can explore. I was not prepared for that. So we said, look, if we do it the way we do it.
Yeah.
Not how you would expect. It wasn't probably exactly how we wanted it or how it's evolved, but it was a starting point. So we said we're not going to, the outfit and everything has to be right.
Yeah.
And everything. And that first day that I put it on and I stepped out in front of the children, it was something I didn't expect and took me by surprise. The look in the children's eyes and the way they...
I'm almost crying.
Well, it brings a tear to my eye as well, because when you see the way the children look and they're looking at you, it can take your breath away.
Of course.
It really does. And at that moment in time, you suddenly become aware of the responsibility you've got and how important that the expectations you've got to live up to is. Like, you've got, you have to take it very, very seriously. And so this has evolved over the years. I went away, I did a lot of research into the character, who he was. We all know, and we all have our own idea. But what I found was here in Dubai, as we mentioned, it's a very diverse social environment. You have people from all over the world, and they all have their version of Santa Claus
Yeah.
or Father Christmas. Yeah, so every nationality has their own version of Santa Claus. Or this benign old guy that sort of gives gifts to children or takes care of children.
If they behave.
And if they behave. And it's right across the world. And that was the one thing that struck me here. And we are living in an Islamic country that is very tolerant and very open with this type of thing. And Christmas is huge here. And nobody would expect that. In fact, I've experienced Christmas, what you might say, Christmas on steroids here. It's absolutely nuts. And of course, with that also comes that what people expect, the expectance of how you should be with that. And there's different levels that we come across. But the character of Santa Claus is something that's very, very close to me, and it's something that we are evolving and working on even more. And yes, it's already started.
Because it looks so natural in you, and you hardly can think that it took you some effort and time to really become that character we see right now, because it's so natural. It looks very natural, like you've always been a Santa Claus.
Well, oddly enough, that's what my daughter said to me, which was quite moving when she said that. Maybe that's why it's when you look at who the character is and what he is, what does he represent? And what does he represent to all the children across the world is simply the spirit of, the human spirit of Christmas or of a festive season, of bringing people together.
Miracle.
And it's the miracle, yeah. And it's all about connecting with the children, being able to connect with them on a one-to-one basis. I can tell a story, if you like, just one brief story of a child.
Of course.
And I tell this story particularly, and a lot of people have heard this story already, but for your viewers, that this story is about a child whose parents hunted me down in Dubai to bring the child back to see me because he hadn't slept for 3 nights after seeing me the first time. And his mother came in with him, and the father standing behind, looking rather stern. And she said, "Can you tell him you've changed the order of the toy that he asked for, his gift for Christmas, because he hasn't slept for 3 nights?" And afterwards, the father thanked me and said, "You've taught my son a valuable lesson. Thank you very much." And so the story began when the child came to me amongst all these other children, and they're all asking for their gift at Christmas, be it all the latest trends in gifts. He asked for something completely different. He said, "Can I have a dragon for Christmas?" And so I went along with the story just like that with the child. I said, "So, what kind of dragon would you like? A red one, a green one? And do you want a baby dragon? Would you like a dragon in an egg that you can hatch yourself? Would you like to, how would you like to do this?" And he said, no, I like a baby dragon. You hatch the dragon or it be already hatched. I said, okay, that's not about. I said, "Are you going to train the dragon to fly and all of that?" "Yes." I said, "Do you live in a villa or an apartment?" He says, "I live in a villa." I said, have you got a garden he said, yes. He said, oh, good. I said, because like it'd probably be a bit difficult when the dragon grows to keep it in the house. And also, I said, you'll probably need to keep some sheep. And he said, why? I said, well, dragons like to eat sheep, so you'll need to keep some sheep in the garden. So, if you, make sure you've got a nice grassy area to keep some sheep. And he was like, oh, okay, like this, you see. So I said, okay, you'll get your dragon for Christmas. I said, so thank you very much. And he ran off. 30 minutes later, after I was still seeing, I got this on my arm. I looked down and it was him. And his mum was standing next to him. He went, Santa? I said, yes. I said, don't worry, your dragon's been ordered. I've told the elves they're hatching the egg now. And he went, no, I want a toy dragon, not a real one. And I went, well, it's too late now. You've told me. I said, I've got an egg being hatched. And I said, why didn't you say you want a toy dragon? I thought you wanted a real one. You can't go changing the order like this. Well, Mummy stood there behind him going she didn't expect that. A big brother is standing next to him, the big brother with his arms all folded, trying to look, and he was like, well, I didn't want to say now or anything. I said, well, I'll see what I can do.
How you manage not to laugh?
I know, so I'll see what I can do, but I'll see if I said, but who can I give a real dragon to now? And he was like, I don't know, I'm sorry, Santa. So off he went. And then they tracked me down 3 days later. They found me in somewhere. Will you tell him that you've changed the order? Yes, I found somebody else who will take a real dragon now, And the father was so happy. He changed his face. He said, you've taught my son a very valuable lesson to be careful of what he asks for.
Yeah.
Well, when I saw the reaction of this and how it actually worked, of course, I'm going to extend this into other realms. So a child comes up and he says, I said, what would you like? He said, I'd like a police car. I said, really? I said, I can get into trouble with the police here if I take one of their cars, It's not really allowed. No, I want a toy one. Oh, okay then. So we went like this. And somebody else asked for an aeroplane. I said, what kind of aeroplane? Like the one that Emirates have. I said, okay, great. I said, do you live in a big house? Yes. Why? I said, well, where are you going to put all the staff, the pilot, the air crew and everything like this, Have you got a big garden? Where are you going to put the aeroplane? I want a toy aeroplane. Well, why didn't you say that then?
These stories are really worth living.
So this is where you connect with the child, and you get children to come up and go you're not the real Santa Claus. Oh, you're prepared to sort of prove that, are you? And then they pull my beard. Ouch. It hurts.
So how many kids are doing this?
Oh, quite a lot.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they come up and then you get some of them turning back round to the mum. Yes, Mummy, he's real.
Yes, you are real.
So it's all about the connection with the child and meeting their expectations as well, When you get moments like a child has walked away and they keep looking back, and then even though their parents are disappearing, they turn around and they run back and they give you a hug. It can be a bit of a moment. It really can. It can really sort of, get you.
Kids they're so pure.
Yeah. And when something's working, when you're 3 months after Christmas, it's March, it's now spring, it's Easter time, and you're in a supermarket shopping and you walk around the corner of an aisle and there's two little girls there. They're twins. They're about 5 years old. And they stop and they stare and they go, Santa. And it's like this, and then one screams, Santa, Mummy, it's Santa, Santa. And, my wife's there and she turns around, what's happening? And Mummy turns around, what's going on? And my wife steps in, well, Santa has to go shopping sometimes, and then we had to think back, where did we meet these children or something? But I'm there in a Hawaiian shirt, my shorts and my flip-flops, and it's like I'm very sort of
Santa is a human being in the end
Dubai,
of the day.
So it's not about the suit, even though I put on I've got a few different outfits which we've accrued and developed and evolved over time because we try to keep it looking authentic. The authenticity doesn't come from the costume so much as it comes from the actual person. And I think that's what I try and aim for, and I'm still working on it. I'm still evolving. I don't think I've perfected it yet, and I don't think I ever will, but it's aiming for that authenticity with the children to give them something that makes them feel as though, and I want them to walk away feeling as though they've had an experience of meeting, possibly the real Santa Claus that sort of, and it's not, and trying to connect with them and let them know that it's not just about gifts, it's about what the spirit of Christmas, about the coming together of family and all the best things about what Christmas is all about.
Since you're talking about the connection with the children, may I ask you how you combine all this amazing career of an actor, the career at the television, and the personal life?
Oh, and the personal life.
You mentioned you have a daughter.
I have two daughters from two previous marriages.
Wow. So 3 marriages you had.
Well, 2 marriages. The current partner is not a wife. I call her the wife because it just became a habit.
It's just the paper. It doesn't matter.
Well, the thing is, she is my wife.
Exactly.
Yes.
So we cut it out.
That's the way I do, and it just makes things easier to,
Of course.
So anyway, 2 daughters, one which is pretty much the same age as yourself, and a younger one that is 17, just about to embark and go to university. Well, another year yet, and she'll be going to university. So it's difficult. They live in the UK, but thank God for Zoom and for social media and for everything.
Santa on Zoom. Yeah.
Yeah, we stay in touch this way. But of course they come to visit, and when I get an opportunity, I go and visit them. Other than Christmas Eve when I'm delivering the presents, of course.
Through the chimney.
Through the chimney. So, yeah, they're living their lives in the UK. My eldest daughter's got a really good job. She's still single, but she's doing really well with her. I mean, she's a workaholic. She's working, yeah.
Strong, independent woman.
Well, yes. I think the one thing that they always say that they love Christmas, they love Halloween. These are things like festivals where we've always dressed up. I've always dressed up with them. I've always dressed up for them. And one thing is they're both bookworms. They love books. It was something from a childhood that I instilled in both of them. Story time at bedtime was just a must, and I think this also comes from the acting side of things, and just it's all about stories.
Yeah, that's true. I have something for you. You may notice that I have ducks in my podcast for some reason.
You have?
Yes, I do have, and I have a small gift for you.
Oh wow!
This is the Santa Claus duck. And
he's brilliant.
Yes.
Oh my God, he is brilliant. This is going in Santa Claus's office without any shadow of a doubt. This will be, yes. He's absolutely brilliant. I love him. I do. I love him. Thank you so much.
I'm happy you liked it. So it's just...
no, I do. He's brilliant. Does he squeak?
Yeah. It's just a small gift to remember. Do you maybe have any advices to a younger generation? So because your life, it's so colorful, so bright, so interesting. Share something with us. Just teach us living.
I keep on being told by my daughters that it's different today than it was in your day. And of course it is. There is a lot of difference, social media, and so this has changed the map and the way we behave and interact with each other. This has changed the political landscape, and it's changed many different things from when I was their age. But I still feel that we grow and evolve the same. We still get to an age where we realise, some of the things that we thought were important in our earlier life maybe weren't so important, and I wish I had, focused more on, other things. And these you may consider as being regrets of what you may have had in the past life. And so they say as you get older, you get wiser. Well, from being wise, this is where you get the regrets, I believe, is that it's so easy to fall into peer pressure and other people's ideas and so on. And social media is sort of a big influencer within that. It can persuade people to think this way and that way. The only thing I'd advise all the younger people is think for yourself. Question absolutely everything, but don't judge it. Just question it. Always ask why and try and find an answer. Don't be quick to judge. Don't be quick to go along with the narrative of other people just because everyone else says this is how we should act and this is how we should think. Be yourself and always look at everything and question it. Step back from it and look at it in a different light. And that will make you stand out as an individual and give you a clearer path in which to tread.
Well, thank you for that, for the advices.
You're welcome.
If I may ask, just
thank you for my duck.
I'm very happy you like it.
I love my duck. I love my duck. My duck's really cool.
So that last question, if you may allow, just in case we can cut it, what are the things you regret?
I think there's many. I don't think there's one specific, because life is complicated and it's a web of connections that one thing can lead to another. If you say you regret one thing, it may have so many things connected to it that if that hadn't happened, then that would have happened, and then that. So it's difficult to say that you regret something outrightly and be specific about it, because then you may not have got something from everything that bad happened. You can learn something,
if you're strong
and so
enough.
something, and good things can come out of that. You have to be able to sort of, if you're strong enough, exactly.
Yeah.
So, so it's a complicated question. Do you have any regrets? it'd be more of a question if you said, like, is there anything that you would change in your past? And of course, even that's difficult because, like, I would not be in the position I'm in now. But could I be in a better position now, being who I am today? And the answers to that, I think everybody can always say yes, because there's always room for improvement. What could I have done in the past that could have improved the position that I'm in today?
But you will never know.
Well, I think certain things that you think you could have changed or you could have tried in a different direction. But again...
Yeah, but at that very moment, you've been doing the things which were feasible for you to do. With that experience, with that environment you've been...
That's, yeah, some things.
Oh, that's quite an upsetting. Yeah. So since you are in front of the camera again, you may say hellos to anyone you want. So go ahead.
I'd like to say hello to all the elves up in the North Pole, and I hope that you are sort of not being lazy whilst I'm here in Dubai and making sure that everything is being prepared as we'd planned for this forthcoming festive season. It's going to be a very busy one, and don't forget that the kids break up from school early this year on the 8th of December, so Christmas is going to be a little bit earlier. Wow.
Was it a real Santa Claus voice, or you have a specific one for Santa Claus role?
No, I am Santa Claus. I love my duck.
Thank you very much for coming to my podcast, finding time for that. It was a really touching conversation for me. Thank you so much for that.
Spasibo большое.
Oh, okay. Since you do speak Russian, let's say into that camera who is in Dubai, but in Russian. So I teach you. It's кто в Дубае. Кто в Дубае. В Дубае.
В Dubai.
Yeah, so who is in Dubai? This is the name of the program.
В Dubai.
Yeah, кто в Дубае.
Кто в Dubai.
Okay, 1, 2, 3 in that camera, okay? 1, 2, 3. Кто в Дубае. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much.
Спасибо большое.
So thank you very much for watching this episode. I really hope that you also enjoyed it. And see you next week. Bye.